Hello and welcome to another episode of Fire Emblem Discussion. Today I'm going to be responding to your comments on the video Fire Emblem Three Houses, How Will Squads Work? So let's get into it. Our first comment comes from Samuel Cron, who says, nice video. Thanks. I think the squads, from what we've seen so far from trailers and screenshots and such, will be male and female variants of a single class. However, I do not think that unit's class will be the sole deciding factor for what unit types you command, as in one trailer we saw Edelgard command a squad of horse units while she herself was still an axe infantry. I think that's a really interesting concept, and it makes me think of like Final Fantasy Tactics, where once you learn a skill in one class, you can use it in another class. And I really enjoy that, the idea of that, being able to master, the Myrmidon class, and then as a fighter or as a brigand, you can still have Myrmidon sword fighters, which give you like different bonuses and stuff. But we'll talk more about bonuses later on and what I think is going to happen. But that is actually the thought that I've had, Samuel. I really appreciate that comment because it kind of affirms what I've been thinking, that you will be able to use you will be able to have a squad of units from a different class than you are if you've already mastered that class, or mastered the weapon that class uses, or something to that effect. I really am interested to see how that affects the gameplay. Okay, moving on, we have Harry Hume, who says that class Byleth has been all but confirmed to be Myrmidon, matching with the Famitsu screenshot with the same class. I think the squads will be aesthetic apart from the Gambit command, but I don't know how that would work. Perhaps the different Triforce symbols represent the formation of the squad. So the Triforce symbols he's referring to are the little three yellow triangles that appear by the squads in a few screenshots and in some gameplay footage. So yeah, that makes sense. Byleth is a Myrmidon. That's basically what I thought. I just brought up the mercenary thing because I thought he was holding a sword in a way that was reminiscent of old school mercenaries, like GBA mercenaries. So I don't know. That's just the thought I had. And definitely that Triforce symbol thing definitely has to do with squad formations, and I'm excited to see more of that. All right, thank you so much, Harry. Okay, moving on to Cutting Air. I like breaking wind, cutting air. Says, in the trailers with Edelgard using a gambit, she has great knights with lances charging. I think this will negate weapon triangle to be neutral when going against the respective weapon. We also noticed in some screenshots that the three triangles, being that Triforce symbol that we talked about just a second ago, one of those triangles was missing, and it was orange, maybe being indicated as HP. We also have the authority ranking, whether it functions like weapon rank, where the higher authority equals more squad options, etc., would be fun to theorize. I hope that squads contribute to the stats of the unit. If not, minor effects would be cool, like you mentioned, squad count affecting movement, or having more units decreases speed but strengthening attack, defense, etc., etc. There are many things I hope squads do to increase the overall gameplay of FE3 houses and not be barely noticeable or cosmetic at best. I really hope that too. I really hope they aren't just a cosmetic thing and they are key to the gameplay, which I'm sure it's going to be. I think squads and gambits is going to be three houses pair up. So pair up was huge in Awakening, it was huge in Fates. And squads and gambits are going to be huge in three houses. I think that's a guarantee. I don't know about the first part about negating weapon triangle to be neutral. I am interested to see what will happen if you do have units with different weapons than your main unit and how that will affect the weapon triangle. Again, someone please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I don't think we have had a clear-cut confirmation that the weapon triangle is even returning in this game. I mean, we didn't have it in Echoes, and they're doing a lot of the things that Echoes did in this game. Not a lot of, I don't know. They're doing some things, they're taking some things from Echoes, like combat arts and whatever. So I wouldn't be surprised if they left out the weapon triangle. But I could totally be wrong. I may just be misremembering. It probably is shown somewhere. But let me know in the comments if it is. But thank you, Cutting Air. Alright, moving on to Charlotte OL, who says, I think it is male and females there, as you can clearly see the other groups farther also have male and female design. just smaller than the just smaller compared to the males of the Swordmaster class having different color. But yeah, so I think that's been a pretty common sentiment. People are agreeing with that those are just male and females, not different classes, which is a little disappointing to me. I'd love to see some mixing and matching and seeing how that would affect stats and whatever. Maybe that will be a thing. At the very least, it makes it easier to look at having some variation in how your generic units look, which is kind of nice. It looks a lot nicer than a squad of clones. It's nice to have a little variation. So thank you, Charlie. All right, moving on to Taylor Johnson, who says, I always enjoyed the main characters actually fighting each other. I hope it doesn't make too much of an impact. I hope squads will give bonuses depending on the enemy squad you attack. And TLDR, add another rock, paper, scissors element, but it only gives bonuses. So Taylor, I guess, doesn't want you don't want a whole lot to be affected by squads, it sounds like. It sounds like you are a little worried that it's going to be too big a part of the game. And I hate to say this to you, but I think it is going to play a large role. I do think it's going to affect stats. I think it's going to affect stats. I think it's going to affect certain advantages. I think it's going to affect being able to use certain skills. I think it's going to be a huge thing. It's not just going to be a cosmetic, aesthetic thing. It is going to be a huge gameplay element. So sorry to say, Taylor, I think it will be more than just a rock, paper, scissors element. I think that'll be in there too with different squad formations, but I think it will be a little more than that. But thank you for your comment. All right, moving on to Mr. Kazu Kiss, who says, I'm guessing that IS is taking a page from the Langrisser book when handling squads, giving players a variety of units that can be a part of a squad and perhaps manipulate a bit of the weapon triangle, or be a separate triangle system based on formations. I just don't want it to turn into a confusing as heck system that makes planning my moves unreliable. Okay, so I feel like I think Mr. Kazu Kiss is taking the middle ground here. So Taylor Johnson doesn't want to make too much of an impact. Other people want it to make a huge impact, and Mr. Kazu Kiss wants it to be a little impact. And I appreciate that thought. A middle ground is probably more of what we're going to just see. But I can't imagine that IS is going to introduce this new system of squads and then make it not be integral to the gameplay. So I appreciate your thoughts, and I hope you enjoy the game when it comes out. But I do think it's going to be just formations and squads are going to be huge. All right, moving on, we have Christine Sawyer, who says, do you think that you'll be able to make it so units aren't attacked as much when they're alone and not in a squad? So do you think that you'll be able to make it so units aren't attacked as much? No. I think if you lose your squad or something, like if your squad dies, that your character there will be in dire straits. Or it could even be that your squad will just represent your HP as a whole, but we don't know for sure yet. I don't know how that's going to work entirely. But I do think that if for whatever reason you don't have a squad, you're going to be a pretty vulnerable unit. So you want to keep them out of harm's way, I'm sure, but you can't expect that to just happen for you. So yeah, there's my answer for that. Thanks for your comment, Christine. All right, got a couple more. I thought it was the last one. Two more. Okay. First, Mikey Kliss, who says, I feel it might just be for looks, but I can see it also adding stats, or like you said, movement, which would be pretty cool. Thanks. I think it would be pretty cool too. But yeah, we pretty much covered that. I don't think it's going to be just for looks. I think it will add stats. I think it's going to be similar to like how pair-up works. It's going to add different stats, and it's going to add different abilities. And movement's interesting. That's a really interesting one to me. Like, how is it going to affect movement? I can see classes like Thief not being able to have a squad, but they have like 6 move, whereas like all the other units who have squads have like 4 move or something like that. Just less units equals more move. I'd be interested to see how that works. All right, and the last comment from Macaroon, who says, I don't think the male and female are any different, but I do think if you master some classes, you can use them in your squad anytime you want. We also saw that squads can level up in the second trailer. We also saw Bernadetta using an art, and the formation of the squad was different from what we have seen before. The formation probably changes depending on the art. I also heard people saying something about the green triangles. We also saw 2 gold triangles. I don't think it has anything to do with the formation, but with authority, probably like a 3-turn stat boost. Huh, interesting. Interesting thought. So you think it has to do with authority, and the more authority you have, the better your squads perform, or just better stat boost you get, or what? Go ahead and feel free to clarify that for me. I'm not entirely sure what you mean at the end there. Yeah, I'm interested to, yeah, and another person who says it's just male and female, which again is basically what I thought, but I had high hopes that it might not be I have high hopes that it might not be the case, but I don't, again, they're hopes, they're not thoughts. I don't actually think they will. All right, well, thank you everyone for your comments. I really appreciate it. I guess to put a neat bow on top of this messy discussion I've put forth, I'll say that I think squads are going to be integral to the game. I think they're going to affect the stats of the player unit. They're going to affect what skills you can use. They're going to affect the gambits you can use and how, whatever those gambits are all going to be. I'm interested to see whether they just like boost attack or if they have other effects. There could be a lot of cool things with the different gambits, what they do. I'm also interested to see if you're going to be able to mix classes of your squad is going to be mixed different classes, like have Myrmidons and Axe Fighters or something in the same class, in the same squad, and that does different things for your stats and whatever else. I'm interested to see that. I don't have a lot of hope for that, but maybe that could be in like a future installment of the game or something once they really figure out the squad system and see how it works and how people receive it. But all in all, I do think that the squads are going to be super important. I think that I think not only what kind of unit you use is going to be important. I think the different generic units are going to be better in different formations. I think it's going to be a whole nother giant like micromanagement game on top of what the micromanagement game that Fire Emblem already is. And honestly, I'm pretty excited for it. I think it's going to be another fun thing to deal with, especially after playing Fire Emblem for 15-ish years. It's going to be fun to move into something a little more complex and a little more fun, to me at least. But those are my thoughts. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I really appreciate it. And if you made it to the end of this video, you're probably pretty interested in my content. And if you aren't, ask you just to share your favorite video with other people on Twitter, social media, wherever. I'd really appreciate it. And also, I started a Patreon a while ago, but I recently revamped it and added some tiers and added some benefits. So please go check that out. And if you have some cash to spare and you're willing to help a content creator put out some more content, or like to contribute to that content or whatever else, please just consider donating. I'd really appreciate it. But again, the link is in the description to that Patreon. Every little bit helps. So thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to comment your thoughts as always, and like and subscribe for more Fire Emblem discussion.